Hello and welcome to Fish Out Northwest. Where you in? Tommy Donlan.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
9 feet out behind me right now, so put your stopper up there on your mono.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a slow grind in the morning, you know, and that happens sometimes.
When you present it, you're sweeping it over an area. Now, when you get these big, wide areas...
Yeah, those are the new Columbia River pop from McKay crab and shrimp gear.
There we go.
Yes, indeed.
Nicely done, buddy.
That's a beautiful fish, Dwayne. Nicely done.
Thanks for rolling me into him, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Hello and welcome to Fish Out Northwest. Wayne England, Tommy Donlan, and yes, the General himself, Mr. Bill Herzog.
Morning, kids.
How are you?
Excellent. Couldn't be better.
Back in studio with us.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Well, I'm full of spring Chinook, so I'm extremely happy.
Well,
yes, you
we've been over here on the west side for a couple of days fishing. Thought, hey, you know what? I could stop by and hang out. We said, why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely, why not? I want to welcome everybody to today's program. And boys, it's a busy one.
It is.
We got a lot
Yes,
of content to cover as we do each and every week here as we roll through season. Tommy just keeps getting busier and busier, and we have more opportunity out there. We can even, Bill, as you often say, we're frozen with indecision, right?
It's that time of year. If you can't find something to do right now, you're not looking very hard.
You're just not
That's
looking
right.
hard
No,
enough.
sir.
So, matter of fact, we just returned from a lengthy road trip, 800 miles or so.
Dude, you put some miles on the
Put
truck.
some miles on the truck and the boat trailer, and got out, did a little fishing, and yeah, headed on over to the east side, hung out with Bobby Loomis and Richy Harrod, excuse me, for a couple days, fished some walleye. We went back to the painful Roosevelt section where we want to try to, knock the heck out of those triploids and some bonus kokanee. And Bill, once again, that lake just owns me this year.
It has been the season of the skunk. For
Yeah.
some reason, I mean, you have these tremendous days fishing, and then we get completely shut out. There seems to be no middle ground.
No,
anywhere.
it's either full on or full off.
Right, yeah.
And went there again with all the confidence in the world. I rebuilt my deployment towers for my side planters, raised them up 2 feet. Just the gear, just deploying everything out, just works so much better. And to have Bobby Loomis on board and Chris, one of the Max Pro staffers, both very accomplished fishermen. All three of us just scratching our head like, what is it gonna take?
Well, it kind of makes me feel better after us going over there and just going through the whole tackle box challenge, trying to find something that they'll take. We couldn't get them to go. Well, it's not us.
No.
You get that many killer anglers together, it's not you.
You're running through the gear, running through just conditions were ideal, very little to no wind. I mean, nice and sunny, beautiful morning. It's like, it's all I want. Give me a chance, and everything was just running so good.
Did you have any on at all?
No, we got one real nice big walleye rainbow. 7 rods, running 7 rods, Tommy,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
Like you said, it's like tuna fishing.
Tuna spread.
And but the day before, weather was a challenge with the wind. But boy, we got into the walleye. Man, we got into the walleye. It was all about boat control. Going to talk about that here in a little bit as we move on through the show. But the walleye, cracking the code and getting on the fish and the ability to stay on them. It was a all hands on deck with the wind blowing and the boat pushing. It was boat control and running the gear. Solid fishermen on board with Richy Harrod, Bobby Loomis, and that brings us to our peak outdoor moment of the week.
Bottom. There's a fish.
Here we go.
Rich, take this one.
Here. I'm getting this out of your way. This is garbage. Just get them, Bobby. We're good.
Rich, you know what it's doing? They're just picking it up. They're not biting.
Watch your arm.
That's
You're getting bit. There we go. That's a triple?
Here, don't.
Were you getting bit here?
I think he's on there.
He is on there. Yep. It's all about boat control. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Bobby, you close?
30 feet.
Okay. Here he is. Here you go. Bring him this way.
Oh, what's the motor? One. All right. How's Richy? Still line. Yep. Peel some line off that, Bobby, as we come up. Okay. There we go. Coming in, boys. All right, you guys take this, and I'm gonna take the boat. All right, now we're doing it.
Yeah. Hey, mark that spot. I mean, we just hit 2 fish right in a row.
Well, there you go.
Wow,
2 fish,
dude.
1 net.
Love it.
That was right towards the start, man. We kind of started dialing it in and figuring it out. And, you know, and we'll talk about it later, but we got fish every drag.
Yeah.
Every drag
like
we were
it.
getting into fish. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. And we had a blast. And we took home 33 of them, which equates to 66 fillets. So
Best,
it looks
best
like
eating fish.
it looked like you were trying to eliminate an entire population of fish.
well, we did our best. And we didn't even scratch the surface. So, all righty, running down the show. We got a busy one. Matt Messin, the Viking himself. Messin Around Fishing Charters, Puget Sound Lingcod, how to find them. Then we'll do part 2 with Matt. How to rig and catch lingcod. Definitely take notes. We're going to bring the info that you need to hear. Bill Herzog is here. He just got off the Wind River yesterday morning, spring Chinook. It's a hot bite, and Bill is here to talk all about it and fill you in. Then we're welcoming to the show, boys, guest Greg Miller. He landed a 155-pound halibut on a salmon rod.
Attaboy.
It's a great story. Greg is going to join us later in the program to tell us all about it. He did this all while wearing, of course, FHN swag in his FHN hoodie. Bill, then we're going to jump back with you. We're talking a little bit about jigging, Chinook, and Puget Sound. Today's success or not. You guys were out in the water for the better part of the day. I want to talk to you about how the day ended. And then, of course, we're going to recap the recent road trip to the east side in the Walleye Smash Fest. Going to get you all the details and tell you how you can go do exactly what we were able to accomplish. Jumping out for a quick break. We'll be back with Matt Messin right after this. Allied, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, you know, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat, and, you know, big part of my success.
All right, welcome back here to the program. No stranger to the program by any means, and out in the field with us often. Matt Messin, Messin Around Fishing Charters, www.messinaroundfishingcharters.com, and the Viking himself. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Hey, we're great.
Oh, most
man.
excellent.
So, yep. So look, this is that time of year. You look forward to May 1st because we get that Lingcod opener in Puget Sound, and from day one, you've been out there cranking them in pretty well. Fishing's been not too bad right from the start, huh?
Yeah, it's been a real good start to the season. I've been finding some fish. A lot of guys look like they've been finding fish. It's been good to be back.
Nice.
So the Lingcod, Matt, I think in the Puget Sound, they just made a tremendous comeback over the years. The population is healthy. And I mean, no matter where you look in the state, you can usually find Lingcod somewhere. And out of places like Nia Bay, you can't even drop a line without hitting a Lingcod in the head. But in the Puget Sound, you know, I think it takes a little bit more skill and a little bit more thought process to find them. And so if somebody's going out for the first time and they want to just find Lingcod habitat, what should they look for in terms of bottom composition, contour lines, current flow? Can we give them a recipe for success so they can find their own spots?
I'd say the first and foremost easiest thing you can do is look on your Navionics charts and find the little boxes that say fish havens on them. A lot of these spots are little naturally made reefs where these lingcod are hanging out. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to start anywhere, I would start there. And then from there, once you start figuring things out, branch on out. Looking for structure, you want nice hard bottoms, little ledges, drops. You kind of looking for those contour lines that are kind of all over the place on your charts. It just shows you that there's a lot of stuff going on below you, and that's what the lingcod really like to hang out in.
Awesome.
Makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about tide and how it affects the opportunity to get on these fish, Matt. So, look, some will choose to anchor, and we've seen that out there in Puget Sound. But everybody in the room would agree that being on the drift is hands down the way to cover ground and find lingcod. So, talk a little bit about the tide. We got some big tide swings here as of late. Can we have too much current when that tide's pushing? And if so, or is it all about boat control? Can you control the boat, control the drift speed? And how do you know if you're actually achieving a good drift and getting your gear down where it needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, boat control is number one, right? I don't care what the tide's doing out there. If you can control that boat, you can kind of control, the speed of your presentations and how fast you're kind of going over. And there's a lot of variables, we get these ripping tides. There's certain areas I go move to that I know are kind of more open, less snaggy areas. I'm not so worried about targeting a certain rock pile or a specific ledge. I got more give and more room to move around in. And then as that tide slackens up, that's when I start spot hopping. You lock in, go hammer those little tiny areas, that pockets you find, and as you're trolling around, kind of mark those fish that you're seeing. And after a while, you're gonna start seeing on your fish finder or your plotter all these marks. They start kind of making a line. And okay, let me try to angle my boat so I drift through all these spots that I've plotted, and give yourself the best chances of putting presentations in front of fish.
Hey, good deal. One of the things that on the ocean, I think I've caught lingcod in like 15 feet of water, all the way up to 800 feet of water.
That sounds about right.
But the Puget Sound being a little bit different.
Yeah.
What would you consider to be that productive depth in Puget Sound that folks should look for?
40 to 70. As we're restricted, right? We can't go any deeper than 120 feet in the Puget Sound to protect those rockfish. So, and in most of your areas where we're fishing, I mean, it's 40 to 80 feet. You're not fishing deep. And there's plenty of lingcod up in that. I've been in 30 to 20 feet popping lingcod on those real low negative tides. I mean, you lose a lot of water, but those fish are still hanging out.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good reminder on the depth restriction. So now that we're kind of on the subject of rules, remind everybody, what is the slot limit, that the requirement for lingcod that they can keep versus what they have to release?
So we're required to keep, or not required to keep, but 26 to 36 inches is our slot limit. So anything smaller goes back, anything bigger goes back. Perfect. Which I think is the perfect eating slot too. I mean, those are the best. Those are the best fish to eat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and probably a lower content of any heavy metals that might be, absorbed into some of those bottom dwellers. So it's a good safety reasons for health reasons as well. Real quick, Matt. So if I'm new to lingcod fishing, or I've been out there fishing salmon for years, but now I want to try lingcod, what's a good line weight of rod, length of rod, line weight, and kind of real combination I should look at purchasing if I want to start going after lingcod?
I'm honest. I kind of got a mixed bag of rods. So I do like using some longer rods for my live bait. I want a nice stiff kind of back to them, but I also want a really soft tip on that end. Yeah. So you can see those fish as they're starting to get nibbled on by the lingcod when you're running those flounder and whatnot. But then I like and those are like 10. I got a couple 10-foot rods is what I use for those. And then if I'm jigging, I like a little bit of shorter rod, like a 8 or something like that, something a little stiffer that I can really just bounce. I don't have a ton of give on the thing when I'm yanking that jig up off the bottom and letting it flutter back down.
Makes sense. You kind of mentioned live bait, so we're going to pause there. We're going to jump out for a break because when we come back, we're going to delve into this live bait, how to get them, how to rig them, and how to fish them. We'll walk through the entire process here with you. So don't go anywhere. Jump out for a quick break. We'll be back. More with Matt Messin right after this.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why all boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. All Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. All Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Before you buy any boat, stop by or call Defiance Boats today to ensure you are getting the very best glass boat your money can buy.
Start your outdoor adventure at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, 2 locations with the best selection of name brand outdoor gear at affordable warehouse pricing. Over 60,000 different items to fit in your adventure, like Gamakatsu fishing gear, premium grade high carbon steel hooks, Gamakatsu custom designed fillet and boning knives to tackle and storage containers. Gamakatsu, simply the best. Maximize your outdoor adventure with the right gear at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, Fife and Seattle.
All right, well, welcome back to the program here. Still on with Matt Messing. And so, Matt, we kind of mentioned the live bait program, and Tommy and I have done that with you and been very successful in that regard. So talk a little bit about going out and finding bait, whether it's sand dab, herring, maybe pogies, perch around the pilings. How do we find our bait, and where do you find your bait?
Well, a lot of it starts right at the dock, right before.
Oh, looks like we froze up.
Filings, looking underneath the dock, kind of look under some of the boats. You're looking for those little shiner perch that start showing up any week now. I know my marina doesn't have them yet, but I know some of the other places they're starting to show up. Guys are getting them, and those things are working really good right now too. But yeah, once you get some of those, use I like using the Gamakatsu. I think they're number 3s. They're little tiny herring jigs, the Sekiu rigs that you can get. Those things work great for getting those little shiners. And then yeah, if you can get some of those, head out. And then otherwise, we're out there looking for flounder. You know, we want those little sand dabs about the size of your hand. You know, if not, to me, smaller the better. Those Lingcod love little baits. They will just absolutely destroy them. And it, you know, in the live bait thing, it makes a fun little kind of adventure to start the day out with. You know, round 1, you know, you got to go find the bait.
Yeah,
you're already fishing to start the day.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, so, so there's kind of you have a variety of different live baits that you can find. I think there's like a hierarchy there, but, I think the tried and true, the ones that you can typically always count on is that flounder, the sand dab. And so talk a little bit about the rigging, right? So, you're running Spectra, most likely. You've got a sliding sinker in the equation. You've got a leader. Talk about, what hooks are you using? How do you hook sand dab or flounder versus how do you hook, say, a shiner?
Yeah, so I'm running a sliding lead setup, right? I start out with 2 barrel swivels. I just thread one right through, and the other one's tied on with a nice Palomar knot. All braid to the end of that swivel, and then from that last swivel, it's mono. I'm using I think 50-pound fluorocarbon. Sorry, not mono, fluorocarbon. Better abrasion.
Yeah,
resistance. So fluoro from that. With the flounders, I'm running doubles, like 5, 6, 7 hooks. I'm using red hooks this year, just kind of trying something different out. And I usually nice little spread, just like you'd kind of rig up for running a cut plug herring or something like that, but just kind of supersized to fit the flounders. Usually running 5 to 6 ounces of lead too on that slider with a nice dropper loop too. That way, if we get hung up, we can just kind of pop that lead loose, get it up. We're not losing hooks and baits and everything else under the sun, and we can get back to fishing quicker. The shiners, I'm using circle hooks. Just circle hook. I usually hook them right through the top dorsal fin, and just send them down just like that.
And how are you hooking the flounder? So you got a 2-hook rig, 2 singles. How do you hook?
Yeah, flounder. One's going right up through the jaw, and the other one's going right through the back. I hook it so that back hook's kind of, see if I can get in the camera here. It's kind of sticking straight up off the back of that flounder.
Perfect.
So when that lingcod grabs that sucker and starts chewing and turning with it, you know, it's popping way out there. It's not laying flat against the skin of that flounder. It's sticking straight up.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think you mentioned the hook position on the shiner, and for people to understand, there's a lot of ways you can hook a shiner, right? You can hook them in the nose, you can hook them, front shoulder, back shoulder, butt, right? And that shiner does different things when you hook it in different locations. And the reason that you hook it in the back is because you're fishing on the bottom. So the last thing you want is that shiner to go into a rock, go into a hole. By hooking it in the back, it tends to bring it up off the bottom, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We hit bottom, and it's usually 3 to 4 reels up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I have everybody hold it, just so that thing's just hovering right above the bottom, so that they can't find a rock that they like and dive into and snag up, and then you losing all your gear again.
Right.
Well, I think the key there, any and all of those methods of hooking those bait up, whether it's any of the 3 that we're discussing, I mean, obviously you want that bait swimming, right? The more agitated they are, the more they draw the attention. And obviously, I mean, if you've done it enough, and Tommy showed me this first time out, like you can start feeling that bait fish get antsy when it is in the wheelhouse of a large lingcod. Those things get nervous, and you feel your line start dancing around. And better hold on, because things are about to get real western, like real quick. Let's talk about how about dead bait? Out there in the ocean. I mean, Tommy and I are out there rolling a lot of brined up trout, brined up kokanee for some of these bigger lingcod. Would folks have success in Puget Sound if they wanted to drag some dead bait around?
Yeah, I mean it's going to work, right? Lingcod are opportunists, right?
Yeah, sure.
The food's coming right by the rock. They're going to, if they want it, they're going to go grab the thing.
Yeah.
Live bait, I think, is better. I mean, if they're going to go hit a dead jig that's just got a rubber tail wiggling around, why wouldn't they go hit a dead bait that's doing about the same thing a little jig head's doing? So.
Yep.
Have you played? I mean, live bait is king, right?
Live bait is king.
We're not going to mince any words here, or confuse people. But have you played around with any big plastic swim tails, jigs, anything of that nature?
Yeah. I use the curly tail grubs and stuff. Sometimes when those tides are ripping really fast, we almost kind of go into a troll. You throw out the jig heads with some curly tails on there, and I've used some of those sculpin that Fisherman's Gold makes. So I tried those guys out. The flounder pounders, we played with a little bit of those, and they work, especially when you're more spot hopping, like locking right in on a spot. I kind of find those work a little bit better. But
you putting scent on those, Matt? Any of your soft plastics and stuff?
No, I have before. I haven't, I guess, done it maybe enough to be like, oh my gosh, this is how
make it a difference
kind of thing. Because I'm using live bait as much as possible. Everything else to me is just plan B.
Yep.
Like
gotcha.
If the flounder die, or they're just we can find really big flounders, then that's what I'm going with, right? I want those small bait presentations, man. The Lingcod love them.
All right, this is open until June 15th. You still got room to book some trips, and folks can get a hold of you at www.messaroundfishingcharters.com.
Yeah, just go to the website, hit book now. Got plenty of dates, and as we get into June, and maybe that coho season opens up June 1st, you pick your species. If we fill up quick, then maybe we'll go after the other one. We'll double it up.
Gotcha. That would be a fun day if you can double down on both resin coho and lingcod. He's Matt Messing, Mess Around Fishing Charters. Check him out, www.messaroundfishingcharters.com. Always a pleasure, Viking. We'll be in touch. We'll be fishing soon, my friend.
All right, fish on, guys. Take care.
All right,
take care, brother.
All right, bouncing out for a quick break. We come back. Bill Herzog, been out chasing Springer, is going to tell you all about the wind right after this. Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Defiance Marine guarantees the best price on a new and best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine is a boat dealer who proudly sells Defiance, Allied, and Arima boats. All boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Defiance Marine has all your boating needs to help you get out on the water.
the Northwest premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. Fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodations and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
All right, welcome back here, Bill Herzog.
Hi.
Hey, welcome back.
Join it. Yeah, welcome back.
Hi. Well, you know, it was a nice vacation.
Yeah. Take a little break there. Hey, so you were here on the west side for a couple days.
Yes.
Yesterday morning started off springer fishing up there at the Wind. Did it hold up to his name? What was the weather doing for you first thing in the morning?
Well, I took my good buddy Mike with me, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm warning him all the way. I go, they call this place for the wind.
For a reason.
For a reason.
Absolutely.
I go, usually it's pretty nautical out here and trolling's tough. We get out there, it is flat, calm, and beautiful.
How about that, huh?
And we just happen to, roll the dice, bang, hit a really perfect day. And oh, by the way, there was about 5,000 fish a day plus coming over Bonneville right by us.
Yeah.
So how did we do? We were done by 6:15.
Yeah. Well, we had some
sweet baby.
You brought in a few pieces for dinner tonight, which was a bonus. Wasn't expecting that. No, that was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a surprise. So you and Mike were fishing with Niels Humphreys, right?
Yeah.
River Dog Outfitters.
Yes.
Why would anybody want to fish the Wind when you got the Drano 500 right next door? What was the deal there?
It was Wednesday. Drano was closed on Wednesday for tribal fishery.
Tribal fishery.
So everybody, their brother, their dog, and their pastor was down where we were, right? But that's fine. It was very.
Was it crowded or plenty of room?
It was plenty of room. It's not like Brewster, and people are there. Everybody you see at Brewster is there, so they're all Brewster trained. They get all
everybody. They're all Brewster trained.
Oh yeah,
you survive Brewster, you can survive anywhere. Well,
that's right.
I mean, Drano. Okay, 2 fish limit. I get it, but if I had the choice, I honestly think I'd forego the 2 fish and just go fish the Wind. Yeah, because it's cranking out fish like crazy right now.
Yeah, and it's very good. We're marking fish constantly. In the morning, there was fish all over the place, and you look around for the first 2 hours, a lot of bent rods and a lot of nets flying. So cool to see.
Classic lead fishery 360 flasher, running coon shrimp spinners or prawn spinners. Or
exactly.
What's the game?
And a lot of chartreuse on the blade. A lot of chartreuse on the blades. It seemed to be the big color. We had 6 rods out, of course. We had 12 ounces on the bow, 10 ounces in the middle, 8 ounces in the back, all spread out beautifully. Fish them right on the deck in 20 to 25 feet of water.
Don't you love the shallow water fisheries?
I do love that so much. And the bites, when you have that little bit of line out, are this close to ferocious.
Violent, very violent.
Very violent.
Very exciting.
Gotta love it.
So you were out there early, off the water early.
Yeah.
But is this bite, is it like really only a daylight bite, or does it go throughout the day? What's that program?
Well, Nels was telling us when we're putting in, he goes, I took my family out yesterday in the afternoon. We got out here at 2:00 and went boom, 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 1, 2, 3 fish. So it all depends, I think, like he said, when they move through.
Okay.
And if you're on them and they're on the snap, away we go.
Now, is this upriver troll, downriver troll? Do you go both ways?
Yeah, both ways. Yeah, we kind of stayed against the current because you can go a little bit slower and you don't have to make many turns. That way you just kind of go against the current. It didn't seem to matter. Guys going both ways were hooked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything on the deck, nothing up suspended. Even the 8 ounces are just right down there.
Right on the deck.
A lot more scope in the line, but
right. Well, it's actually not that much. You're not going that quickly, but you want the 360s just going.
Want that 1 second thump.
You get that.
Nels just watch the watch the rod.
And if it slows down, there's some grass on it. You pull it up and just pull it right off, and it's easy fix. You're right back into fishing.
Yeah.
I'm always curious with the slow troll fisheries about the flasher design because there's so many different flashers out there. So when you're trolling slow, or trolling holding in the current and trolling going forward slow, which 360s were you using?
We had a mixture of like 3 or 4 different brands out there,
and they were all spinning.
All the same 1001. 1002. You get that whoop, just so that makes that spinner just do a little bit of wiggle back there, and it seemed to be the ticket. Yeah.
Somewhere like Drano, where at times you are forced to pump the brakes and really slow down to hardly doing nothing. I would be definitely rolling out. Most of my flashers would be the Brad's Evolution flasher. I would set it on the 3rd hole deep. It exposes the most front edge on the lip of that thing. And even if you're crawling at 0.8, like walleye speed, that thing is still going to rotate. You're still going to be fishing while everybody else's stuff is just kind of slowing and floating. So something to think about if you are forced into those slow water fisheries or minimal current.
Right.
The other good news that came out yesterday is the lower river, the lower Columbia below Bonneville is reopening tomorrow.
Exciting.
Through the 22nd.
Nice.
So I and you and whoever else can jump on board and has time, we are definitely going to be down there and in a number of locations and fish that lower river. Still a lot of fish coming through. Like you said, 5,000 to 6,000 a day over Bonneville. Well, they got to come through there somewhere.
They do, and they said they were right at or slightly above average right now for the run. So the run looks really strong.
Good.
Really strong.
It's been good.
Yeah, we're about midway. It's about the midpoint right now. So they reevaluate the run forecast. They look at the what's been happening, how many over the dam, and fortunately they give us 2 more weeks in the low river. That is fantastic.
Money.
So,
yeah, man.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, looking forward to this next one. Jumping out for a quick break. Greg Miller, going to introduce you to him. Right after the break.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride in Bremerton, Washington. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why Arima boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. Arima can offer every boat with Honda outboard packages so that you can take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Call or stop by Arima boats today and let them help you get into your very next boat.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelt the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far. A place where discovery and history thrive for young eyes and old alike. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat and, big part of my success.
All right, welcome back. Tell me, what's the biggest halibut you've ever caught?
Biggest halibut out of Nia Bay was 115.
You got a 115,
and it had a 9-pound octopus in its stomach.
Oh,
well,
I'm very surprised.
Threw it on the deck and picked up a half digested octopus.
How about that? Yeah. Well, you know what my biggest one is out of Sekiu.
Yeah, 82 pounder. 82. Yeah.
On a kokanee. Well, this next gentleman, a follower and fan of the show, him and his son John and family, they follow what we're doing. They buy and wear our swag at the sportsman shows. Very proud to welcome him to the show. Greg Miller, first time to the show, avid recreational angler, and quite a story you got there, Greg. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you're out of Sekiu. I mean, on the scale is 154.8, but you had blood loss there. I'm giving you a solid 155 plus. On a salmon rod, fishing for lingcod. It's a great story. Kind of tell us how it all went down, how deep of water you were fishing, and how this thing came together.
Well, we kind of showed up late, and it was such a beautiful day on Thursday, opening day of halibut, that we considered going out to Swisher, but we kind of got in late. So we decided we'd just run down to my favorite lingcod hole and go on down there. So that's kind of how it all started. And we were fishing 64 feet of water.
I love shallow water fishing.
Don't you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially for halibut. It gets really exciting.
It does.
So, but you were actually lingcod fishing, right, Greg?
I was. Okay. Absolutely. We were in my favorite lingcod hole, and This was completely a fluke, fellas. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But
so tell us a little bit. Okay, so you were lingcod fishing. What were you using for lingcod? What lures?
Well,
or bait
well, I was in my favorite little spot, and I have 3 waypoints on that spot, and those fish are always hanging on that edge somewhere. So we finally drifted around and found the fish and figured out the drift we needed to go to come over them. And I dropped down. I was using an 8-ounce stick jig, pretty much, and I put it down and I hooked a greenling. It's probably the biggest greenling I've ever hooked in my life. I mean, 24 inches easily.
That's a state record greenling.
Isn't that a big greenling?
I know. I told John, I said, tacos or buckethead. What do you think?
Right.
So he's like, well, I like tacos. I said, I like bucketheads. Let's send it down and see what happens. Yeah. I didn't re-rig it, anything. It was hooked in the mouth on my jig, and I sent it back to the bottom. And by the time it got down there, I turned around and looked at my fish finder, and here we come across the pile of sea bass again. So I stripped out a few blanks and to make sure I was on the bottom, and I felt the greenling getting pretty excited down there. I said, John, I think something's chasing around down there, and then I felt this big chomp, and then nothing. So I picked it up to feel the weight, and it was just solid, and I set the hook. I said, man, I'm snagged on the bottom.
Yeah.
Then the bottom started peeling offline.
Classic.
So here we go. So, of course, I'm assuming immediately that it's this giant buckethead sea dragon out there swimming around and peeling line. Like I pretty much had no control over it. I got it up to the, maybe John says, well, how deep is it, Dad? Where are you at? I said, well, I'm now at 96 feet, and we were in 60 feet of water, so it was peeling pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
And I said, you got time. Get your gear up. We're fine. So he gets his gear up and got it up to about 50 feet and went back to 96 again. And this happened a few more times, and then finally, I said, well, it feels like it's going to come up. And I started feeling it, and I could feel that vertical head shake of a halibut. Now I knew. I said, all right, John, this is not a lingcod, it's a halibut. And then I got excited. Before that, I figured, well, I'm going to turn back this toad lingcod. I'm in area 5.
Yeah, right.
So here we go. I'm going to have to toss this thing back in. So it was kind of bittersweet to have it on. But once I realized that it was a halibut, I was pretty excited. And I said, oh, this is definitely a butt.
Yep.
Get rid of the net and grab the gaff.
Yes. There's something about halibut that you can on large halibut, you can judge the size, because when they take off and they're swimming sideways, how much your rod moves up and down is that the head of that halibut swimming through the water. And if you get those huge undulations, it's a big fish.
It's a big one.
So how long into the fight did you actually kind of see this behavior with the rod and actually get a feel that, oh yeah, this is actually a halibut, not a lingcod?
Well, I probably had it on for about a half an hour at that time.
Wow.
It wasn't giving me anything.
Yeah.
I'd get a couple inches and it'd take 5 feet,
Yep.
And finally, after, like you say, that vertical up and down head shake of a halibut.
Yeah.
So I think this was like the 4th or 5th time that I'd gotten it up to 40 feet or so. Wow. And I felt this head shake, and I was like, all right, get the gaff, John, because this is not a lingcod. It's definitely a halibut. And at this time, I'm thinking it's probably a 70 or 80 pound butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
let's remind everybody, you were using a salmon rod, like a 9-foot, 10 to 20 weighted, salmon rod with 25-pound test monofilament. Is that right?
Yeah, my old Loomis GL2.
There you go.
It's it's actually a 10 to 30 rod.
Okay.
Heavy, moderate action rod.
Yeah.
And 25-pound Maxima.
There you go.
Which is just my go-to for everything, pretty much.
Yeah. You got it up to the boat. You gaffed it, or
well, I said, well, get the gaff for sure. And then I got it up about 10 feet off the boat. It was probably 3 feet underwater or so. And I saw this monster.
Monster.
I was like, No, we need the harpoon, John.
Yeah,
we need the harpoon.
Switching the
So
missiles.
he starts grabbing the harpoon, and I've got the rope, of course, tied around the stick about 60 times to hold the tip on
You
there,
bet.
you know. And he goes, Dad, I've never harpooned anything before. And I said, well,
First time for everything,
I
John.
said, well, this is a great place to start right
Yep,
here, son.
yep.
So anyways, this is when I got really nervous, is when the fish is hanging out there. I can see it's a toad. And you know, we're getting the gaff ready. Well, John's probably in as big a panic as I am, and he's pulling all the knots off the harpoon and gets it ready. And I said, you know, just do the best you can. Try to hit it right behind the gill plate on the stomach side if you can, you know. And so he says, all right, I'm ready. So I kind of stood back a little bit and reeled down on it and pulled it up, and it couldn't have come in any more perfect to the boat.
Fantastic.
It just came up to the surface and turned sideways along the boat. And John threw that harpoon through there like if he was in the Olympics throwing the javelin, it would have gone out of the stadium.
Gold medal,
yes,
baby.
Sir. Yes,
gold
sir.
medal for sure. And thumped this thing so hard. Well, at this point, it just goes nuts and starts flopping around and snapped my line off instantly. My 25-pound instant.
Yeah, but you had the harpoon in now, so you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the poon.
Oh,
in,
you're not
so
good until that fish is
I'm
in
pretty
the boat.
happy right
well,
now.
it's
I wanted it
Yeah.
in the boat.
Yeah.
In the boat. So I was like, all right. I reached out with the fish club and introduced it to that about 25 times outside of the boat. And then he says, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm going to stick the gaff in its mouth and you pull the poon line. And we were so jacked up that I think we about threw that thing out the other side.
Yes. Up and over, almost over. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, hey, Greg, congratulations on Fish of a Lifetime, especially for you and the conditions. The fact you didn't re-rig the greenling just blows my mind. And the fact that fish took it good enough that you got a good hook into it for the entire fight, absolutely fantastic. And how long that fish stayed on, almost 40 minutes. And you guys got it in the boat. What a triumphant day. So congratulations on that, and continue to wear the FHN gear, because obviously it's bringing you luck.
It is. I owe it to my son. He bought me this shirt. He saw your post on Facebook. The whole 9 yards of this would have never happened.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right on.
Well, great to meet you and meet your family, and appreciate the fact you guys are avid anglers, and we will definitely kind of keep in touch. And if nothing else, we'll see you. Sounds like the wife might want to get you guys to come by our trout derby here next week, so you can get some more swag, because we'll be there.
That sounds good to me. Hey, can I give a shout out to my fishing partner of 38 years?
Absolutely.
You bet.
Mr. Kip Reed, best angler I've ever known in my life.
There
Maybe
you go.
better than me, but don't tell anybody I said that.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, Greg.
All
Appreciate you taking time to join us on the program, and enjoy that halibut and many more to come. So have a great day, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, guys. It's an honor.
All right.
Take care.
There you go. Greg Miller, the triumphant 155-pound halibut on the Salmon rod.
Phenomenal. I know that feeling. I know that feeling when you are so jacked up, your adrenaline is at, Mach 10.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter how big that halibut is. He probably didn't even touch the rail when they brought it overboard.
Probably did not. It was airborne.
You're power cleaning that thing.
It was airborne. And the thing was flying like a skate.
Yes.
Yep. There you go.
Yes.
All right. Out for a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelt the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far, where the young and old find rest and excitement, not apart. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh yeah. Oh, geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
All Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why all boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. All Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. All Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Before you buy any boat, stop by or call Defiance Boats today to ensure you are getting the very best glass boat your money can buy.
All right, welcome back. Bill, you were just saying at the break that you've had 3 years in a row of success, shallow water halibut fishing out in front of the Sekiu River.
Yeah, actually, it was the Hoco River. There's a red house there, we always say. There's a red house over yonder, like Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
50 feet of water, 3 years in a row. The first year, like him, I'm jigging
Salmon
away
rod.
with a heavy steelhead rod. And hello,
weird.
70-pound year. So I'm like, well, that was weird. The next year, did it again. The year after that, did it again. Mid-May, every time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
they're in there eating something.
And you were fishing again today. Let's real quick get to this. So you're about here in my backyard now. Where you and I have fished and found great success. And this time of year, mid-May, man, it is go time for Area 13 jigging Chinook. The fish are there. You were marking fish, you were marking bait, right?
Well, we had perfect conditions. Tiny breeze. We're jigging vertically. We're making the perfect drips, with the current and fishing was perfect. I mean, weather, conditions, right hour before it's
Great tide.
And we're marking salmon all over the place. Sometimes singles, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. You saw the pictures I sent you on the screen. And we could not get one to go. Like the other day when we were out there, what in the world makes those things grab one day? And we fish and 3 different colors, 3 good anglers, right to the best part of the tide. Nothing wrong with our presentations and nothing.
What was the wind doing?
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Perfect
tiniest
drift.
breeze. We had absolute vertical presentations all morning long.
Forecast was 3 to 5.
Yeah.
3 to 5. And you had a phenomenal tide, 10-15 low.
Yeah.
You're out there an hour or two before, fish through the tide. And then I am one that says, I got fish on my sounder. I got bait. I can watch fish on my Ray Marine, and Tommy will attest to this. And Bill, you've seen it.
Yeah,
we watch those fish swimming through the vertical jigging up and down as you see it on your sonar.
Yeah,
and they're not snapping. You go, well, okay, we just got to get through the low in the slack, and once that current shifts and those, we start getting water moving. They'll start biting.
So we thought
the flounder were biting.
Yeah, and normally, we heard before out there when the flounder are biting, salmon are biting.
You think so?
We're just.
I have never heard that before.
Well,
I have never heard
the guy who showed us said that.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
Very frustrating and very weird. And your brain just goes, why? Why won't they go?
You guys try different jigging,
like
shorter upswing.
It's small,
Staccato,
and high, and just and just this a little bit. You name it. I've tried it. We're all doing something a little bit different. Different colors.
Did you burn tea leaves?
We did not.
You can try that.
No, we did not. Nor did we sacrifice any type of farm animal.
Well, that's next. That's next time. Yes, tune in. Stay tuned. So, all right, we got to talk about a little east side trip here that I recently returned from in a walleye smackdown. We'll get to that right after this break.
The Northwest premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. Fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodations and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
Start your outdoor adventure at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, 2 locations with the best selection of name brand outdoor gear at affordable warehouse pricing. Over 60,000 different items to fit in your adventure, like Gamakatsu fishing gear, premium grade high carbon steel hooks, Gamakatsu custom designed fillet and boning knives to tackle and storage containers. Gamakatsu, simply the best. Maximize your outdoor adventure with the right gear at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, Fife and Seattle.
All right, welcome back, folks. So, guys, just returned from a full-on round trip of about 800 miles.
That's it?
Yep.
Just 800 miles?
Just 800, which I look at that and go, oh, this is a great warm-up for the 1,000-mile road trip we're heading to Wyoming here in a few weeks.
Or you can think of your friend Bill, who does 400 miles all the time.
just to get to somewhere to go fishing.
That's a fact.
Towing a boat or not, yeah. So, we base camp was Cooley Dam at Richy's little second place there, and Bill, you've been there.
That's a cool little house,
Great
man.
joint.
Yeah.
You're literally 15 minutes from Roosevelt. You are 10 minutes from Banks Lake, and you are 15 to 20 minutes from Rufus.
That's
it's
perfect.
a great central point.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of different types of fishing. Well, it was kind of funny because 2.5 hours from there to get to Kettle Falls, where Bobby wanted to go walleye fishing.
Sure.
And we're driving the windy. There's not a straight stretch of road between Rich's house and Kettle Falls.
Yep.
No matter which side of the river you're traveling, it's very windy and hilly, and overworking the Jake brake on the diesel. That's for sure.
Oh boy!
But 2.5 hours, and as we're passing all that water, Richy constantly is saying, "That looks like a really good flat out there for walleye." And we keep going. And that looks like a really good flat. So we got up there, and the Kettle River, once we got launched and head up river, and we wanted to hit a couple spots that those guys had fished in the past, and we got good reports from some of the Max guys that were out there. We got up there into the corner where the kettle's dumping in, and it's just pumping mud. You got snow melt going on. So the heat from the day before washes down, and then you get filthy, muddy water.
Like we saw when we were kokanee fishing.
Yes, out of the sandpoil. Right. So same thing, but later in the day it'll clean up because now the water that had cooled for the evening is flushing down. So it's a timing thing, right? So we fished that scum line and that dirt line. We trolled up, we trolled down, and we were maintaining pretty good consistency. The wind wasn't real bad, and we felt like we were fishing efficiently, but we just weren't marking any fish. Bobby got some good intel from one of their pro staffers, that's one of their guides that's been in the area recently fishing. He says, well, go up around the corner and, try this spot. We go up around the corner and we're getting set up, and all of a sudden the wind kicks in. And it stayed there 8 to 10 to 12 sustained for the entire time. And it wasn't just straight down river, of which, by the way, we had current flow as well because they're releasing some water.
Sure.
You definitely had current. And ideally, look, when we're fishing, say, a Banks or a lower Roosevelt, and there's really no current to speak of, ideally you're looking for that 0.8, maybe 1 mile per hour.
Right.
But you
Pretty
really
dead
got
flow.
slow and crawl, right?
Well, you're not far from the actual Columbia flow coming in, right? You're
Correct.
what, 10 miles from actual river itself.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of water coming down.
It was moving, and the wind didn't help. And so we're trying to achieve 1.3 to 1.4 miles per hour downriver troll. And the reason we do downriver troll is because anywhere you have current, for sure, those fish are directional. Always nose into the current.
Yep.
Agreed? Right? So those guys in the past have tried various locations, and they've, put on heavy weight, and you do an upriver troll thinking that you're fishing efficiently because your weight is down, you're in their face. Well, truly, you're coming up on them from
behind
back.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, you're coming behind them.
And you might get one to grab once in a while. They'll see it and chase it and come and get it.
But they don't want to have to work to go upstream to catch
they do not. And you're better off if you can effectively back it down into their face, like any other type of back bouncing presentation. That's essentially what we're doing, although it's a stick lead. And the thing you got to remember is we're on a downriver troll. We're dragging and to maintain that with wind push at a 45-degree angle, trying to shove you into the bank. It is a series of in reverse throttling and reverse steering and trying to, and the boat is literally, I'm doing this with the boat all day long, dancing it down there. Look, if we're in 70 feet, we're not getting bit. If we're in 50 feet, we're not getting bit. If I can keep it down the pipe.
You're not back trolling, though. You're not back trolling. You got nose down river.
We're nose down river, and we're basically trolling, and you're dragging the lead. And, if you get a little sideways pitched because of the wind, you got to readjust to get out to that 60 line. Your rigs are swinging. But when you straighten that boat out and pull back on the throttle, reverse, and drop your gear, all of a sudden a rod or two are going off. Like you get in the trough, you get the weight down, boom. Now, so the lead's dragging, but you got to think about the orientation of the presentation.
Prey does not go upstream.
No.
It comes down with the current.
It goes with the current. So now we're pushing it in their face, and my weight is back here, but my leader and my presentation is downriver of the weight, correct? Everybody agree with that? Because it's lighter. So it's actually moving down in front of your weight in their face. And if you could get it lined up and drop in the trough, slow it down enough to where you're 1 to 1.2 to 1.4, a rod or two are going off. We hit fish every pass, 8 fish, downwards of 4 fish, but we hit fish every single pass. And man, I tell you what, if we didn't have the wind to contend with, I'm pretty sure we would have been
smacking more of them.
It sounds like a very technical thing you have to stay right on top of.
It takes a team.
You can't take a brain part for a second.
I thought you were saying it takes a village.
Yeah, well,
it does take
we had about a village on the boat, but
so what were you using for gear?
Yeah, good question. So 0.8 max smile blades. Sparkle green was working really well. And Tommy, I showed you some of those lures. We'll do a bait lab here in the near future, but
downsize.
Couple small, 3 millimeter beads, tiny small presentation, little glow bead, little pink bead in that speckle green smile blade, or the some may call it moon jelly, but it's the UV glow. Upwards of a 1.5 was getting it done as well, but very small. Now,
small stuff.
That's the conditions right now. And keep in mind that the lake is dropped like 12 to 20 feet in some areas.
Wow.
They're getting ready for snow melt, which is happening now. So what's going to happen? Roosevelt's going to start filling up. So where we were fishing the other day, probably can still go up and around Kettle Falls and find fish. We can throw out Kettle Falls all day long because you don't just stumble across Kettle Falls. It is a journey to get there.
It's a hike.
It is a journey to get there. And if you go give it a try, you got to seek them out, man. They might be in 40 foot of water. They might be in 70 foot of water. It depends on how much water they're flowing, for how much current you have. And if the wind is not in your favor, it's going to be difficult. But if all conditions are right and you're fishing a month from now, what's working last week will probably not work later on, because right now we're post spawn on the walleye. So the fry are in the water and they're tiny, right, Tommy? Now, 4 weeks from now, those things might be a couple inches. Bigger. So we got to start looking at other size lures, bigger bead presentations, larger smile blades, right? Bigger presentation overall. Same process. If you're downriver troll, ultimately, again, 1.2 to 1.4. If you're in areas with no current, optimally, we're trying to get a 0.8 to 1 mile an hour.
Yeah.
But it was successful. It took work. Everybody had to. It was a team effort. Boat control was key. And guys knowing how to run the gear is why it was successful.
I'll just say, I used to think, because I went to the University of Nebraska, I used to think that South Dakota was like the walleye mecca of the United States, right? In Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then I came back home and I realized, like, holy crap, like, a good portion of the Columbia doesn't even have a limit for walleye.
It's here.
16 walleye on Lake Roosevelt.
And the biggest walleye in the country.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it's phenomenal walleye fishing. I didn't even know.
The limit for walleye on Roosevelt in the entire reservoir is 16 per angler.
Yeah.
That is a healthy day.
That is. Yeah.
That is a lot of filleting.
And top-notch eating.
Absolutely.
Man.
All right. Well, go get some. And we got more to come on that. We got tons of video to show you as we roll through the next several weeks. And of course, a couple bait labs to show you rigging. Out for a quick break, and we'll be right back. Allied, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines. All right, that's going to do it for us. Want to thank Matt Messing, of course, and guest Greg Miller for joining us for this week's program. Bill, thanks so much for stopping by.
My pleasure, man.
Always a pleasure. Right? Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it here. So weather's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Lots of fisheries to take advantage of. Weekend's going to be fantastic. Get out, get something done. Enjoy. We'll see you next week right here.